Chosen one, stop for a moment and listen carefully, because this message may be reaching you at a time when something important is beginning to change behind the scenes of your life. You may not have physical evidence yet. You may not see the door opening. You may not know where the next opportunity will come from. But never assume that because you cannot see movement, God is not moving. Some of the greatest things God does begin in places your eyes cannot reach. There are seasons when heaven becomes silent, not because God has abandoned you, but because He is preparing something that requires patience, maturity, and faith. You may have spent months or even years wondering why certain doors remained closed, why certain people walked away, why opportunities disappeared, and why your prayers seemed to take so long to receive an answer. But what if those delays were not evidence that you were forgotten? What if they were protecting you from receiving something before you were ready to carry it? Chosen one, the shift you are entering is bigger than money. When we speak about a billionaire shift, we are not talking about greed, luxury, or making wealth your god. We are talking about a dramatic transformation in provision, opportunity, wisdom, influence, responsibility, and purpose. God can increase what is placed in your hands, but He also wants to increase the strength of the hands holding it. Deuteronomy 8 verse 18 reminds us that God gives the ability to produce wealth. That means your focus should never be on chasing money while forgetting the one who gives you the ability to create, build, serve, and prosper. Your real assignment is to become a faithful steward of whatever God places before you. Maybe that is why you have been going through such a refining season. Maybe the rejection developed your discernment. Maybe the disappointment strengthened your faith. Maybe the waiting taught you patience. Maybe the loneliness taught you how to depend on God instead of people. Maybe the closed doors redirected you toward an assignment you would never have discovered otherwise. Chosen one, pay attention now. Pay attention to the ideas that keep returning to your mind. Pay attention to opportunities that arrive unexpectedly. Pay attention to people who bring wisdom, integrity, and purpose into your life. Pay attention to doors that open naturally and doors that close despite your efforts. But above everything else, pay attention to God's direction. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 tells you to trust the Lord rather than depending completely on your own understanding. You do not need to understand every detail before you obey the next instruction. The shift may begin with something small. One conversation. One idea. One decision. One opportunity. One act of obedience. Never underestimate what God can build from something that appears insignificant today. A seed looks small before it becomes a tree. Joseph's prison looked like an ending before it became part of his preparation for leadership. David's wilderness looked like isolation before it became preparation for his throne. Your current chapter may look ordinary, but God can be preparing extraordinary responsibility through it. So do not panic. Do not force doors. Do not compromise your values because you are desperate for change. And do not allow temporary circumstances to convince you that your future has already been decided. Stay prayerful. Stay disciplined. Stay humble. Stay ready. Because the greatest shift may not begin when something enters your hands. It may begin when God changes your heart so you can finally carry what He has prepared for you. Chosen one, this is your reminder, don't chase the blessing so intensely that you lose sight of the blesser. Don't become obsessed with the promise and forget the promiser. If God increases your resources, let them increase your generosity. If He increases your influence, let it increase your service. If He increases your opportunities, let them increase your obedience. Your next season should not simply make your life bigger. It should make your purpose deeper. And when the door finally opens, you should be able to look back and understand why God made you wait. The preparation was not punishment. The silence was not abandonment. The delay was not denial. God may have been preparing you all along. Chosen one, there is something you need to understand about the season you have been walking through. Not every delay means denial. Sometimes God allows you to wait because the thing you are asking for requires a version of you that has not yet been developed. You may have looked at your life and wondered why certain opportunities disappeared. You may have watched other people move forward while you remained in the same place. You prayed, believed, waited, and still saw no visible change. There were moments when you probably asked, God, when will my turn come? But what if heaven was not saying no? What if God was preparing you for something that could not be safely placed in your hands too early? Think about Joseph. He received a dream, but the dream did not immediately become reality. Before the palace came the pit. Before authority came slavery. Before leadership came imprisonment. From the outside, Joseph's journey looked like one disappointment after another. But God was using every chapter to prepare him for the responsibility ahead. The prison was not Joseph's destination. It was part of his preparation. And chosen one, your current situation may not be your final destination either. Some of the seasons you called wasted may have been developing qualities that prosperity alone could never teach you. Your difficult experiences may have strengthened your patience. Your disappointments may have sharpened your discernment. Your losses may have taught you what truly matters. Your lonely moments may have taught you how to hear God without depending on constant approval from people. James 1 verses 2-4 teaches that trials can develop perseverance, and perseverance produces maturity. That means the struggle itself can become part of your preparation. You wanted the blessing. God was building the capacity. You wanted the opportunity. God was developing the discipline. You wanted the open door. God was teaching you how to recognize the right door. This is why you cannot measure God's work only by what you can see. A seed buried beneath the ground looks forgotten, but something is happening beneath the surface. Roots are forming. Strength is developing. Preparation is taking place before anything becomes visible. Your life can work the same way. There may be things God has been developing inside you that nobody else can see yet. Your character. Your wisdom. Your patience. Your courage. Your ability to manage responsibility. Your ability to remain humble. Your ability to keep trusting God when circumstances give you no reason to celebrate. These things matter because greater opportunity requires greater stewardship. The billionaire shift is therefore not simply about suddenly becoming wealthy. It represents a major shift in provision, opportunity, influence, purpose, and responsibility. The deeper question is not, how much will I receive? The deeper question is, who am I becoming so I can handle what I receive? Deuteronomy 8 verse 18 reminds us that it is God who gives the ability to create wealth. Notice that Scripture points us back to the source. Wealth is not meant to become your master. It is something that must remain under God's authority. So if God increases your resources, increase your generosity. If He increases your influence, increase your humility. If He increases your opportunities, increase your wisdom. If He increases your responsibilities, increase your dependence on Him. That is the kind of preparation that matters. Chosen one, stop looking at your past only through the lens of disappointment. Look again through the lens of preparation. That rejection may have redirected you. That closed door may have protected you. That delay may have matured you. That difficult season may have strengthened you. And that period of silence may have taught you how to trust God without visible evidence. Romans 8 verse 28 reminds us that God can work all things together for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. You may not understand every chapter yet. You may not see how everything connects. But you do not need the complete picture to take the next faithful step. Keep praying. Keep learning. Keep building. Keep preparing. Keep your heart clean. Keep your motives aligned with God. Because when the right opportunity arrives, you do not want to be surprised by the responsibility that comes with it. You want to be ready. And perhaps that is what this entire season has been about. Not God forgetting you. Not God abandoning you. Not God withholding everything good from you. But God quietly preparing you. The waiting was shaping you. The pressure was strengthening you. The silence was teaching you. And the process was preparing you for a greater assignment. So don't despise where you are simply because you are not yet where you want to be. Joseph had a pit before a palace. David had a wilderness before a throne. And sometimes God develops His greatest servants in places where nobody is watching. Your hidden season still has value. Your preparation still has purpose. And when God decides that the time is right, what He has been developing privately can become visible publicly. So remain faithful, chosen one. The delay is not necessarily the denial you thought it was. It may be preparation for something you are not yet strong enough to carry. Let God finish the work in you. Because when the blessing comes, the greatest testimony will not simply be that God gave you more. It will be that God changed you enough to use more for His glory. Chosen one, understand this clearly. Before God changes what is happening around you, He often begins by changing what is happening within you. The greatest transformation may not begin with money, a new job, a sudden opportunity, or a visible breakthrough. It may begin with the way you think, the way you see yourself, and the way you respond to the circumstances surrounding your life. For a long time, you may have been thinking from a place of survival. You looked at what was missing instead of what was possible. You focused on closed doors instead of God's ability to open new ones. You allowed yesterday's disappointment to become tomorrow's expectation. But God is calling you into a different way of thinking. Romans 12 verse 2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Notice that Scripture connects transformation with the renewal of the mind. Before your circumstances change, your perspective may need to change. You cannot continue carrying the identity of someone who is permanently defeated while praying for God to lead you into victory. You cannot constantly speak limitation and expect your decisions to reflect faith. You cannot allow fear to control every decision and then wonder why you never step into new opportunities. This does not mean pretending that problems are not real. Faith does not require you to deny reality. Faith teaches you that reality is not greater than God. Your current circumstances may describe where you are, but they do not have to determine where you are going. Think about the Israelites standing before the Red Sea. In front of them was an impossible barrier. Behind them was danger. From a human perspective, there appeared to be no way forward. Yet God had already prepared a path they could not see. That is what faith does. It teaches you to trust God before you understand the route. Chosen one, the billionaire shift, begins here. It begins when your thinking moves from constant fear toward faithful responsibility. It begins when you stop asking only, "What do I have?" and start asking, "What can I build with what God has already placed in my hands?" Maybe you have an idea you've been afraid to pursue. Maybe there is a skill you need to develop. Maybe there is a business concept you've been carrying. Maybe God has been pushing you toward a new responsibility. Maybe you need to stop waiting for perfect conditions and begin taking faithful steps with what you already have. The Bible repeatedly shows us that God works through what is already available. Moses had a staff. David had a sling. The widow had a small amount of oil. The disciples had a few loaves and fish. What looked insignificant in human hands became powerful when surrendered to God. So don't despise small beginnings. Zechariah 4 verse 10 reminds us not to despise the day of small things. Your first step may not look impressive. Your first customer may not make you wealthy. Your first video may not go viral. Your first investment may be small. Your first opportunity may appear ordinary. But faithfulness in small things develops the capacity required for greater things. And this is where wisdom becomes essential. Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 tells us to trust in the Lord with all our heart and not depend completely on our own understanding. That means you don't need to know every detail before moving forward. You need to know who you are trusting. Pray before you decide. Seek wisdom before you commit. Study before you build. Prepare before you expand. And never allow excitement to replace discernment. Chosen one, God can give you abundance, but He wants you to become someone who can steward abundance without being controlled by it. Money should serve your purpose, not become your purpose. Success should increase your gratitude, not your pride. Influence should increase your responsibility, not your ego. An opportunity should increase your obedience, not your dependence on yourself. The real breakthrough begins when you stop seeing yourself only as someone waiting for a miracle and begin becoming someone prepared to participate in what God is doing. Your mindset is changing. Your vision is expanding. Your courage is growing. Your understanding is becoming deeper. You are beginning to see possibilities where you once saw limitations. And perhaps that is the first evidence that the season is shifting. Before God changes your environment, He may change your expectation. Before He enlarges your territory, He may enlarge your capacity. Before He puts more into your hands, He may teach you how to handle what is already there. So don't underestimate the work God is doing inside you. The shift may have already begun. Not in your wallet. Not in your circumstances. But in your mind. And when your renewed mind begins producing renewed decisions, your life can begin moving in a completely different direction. Stay faithful. Stay teachable. Stay prayerful. And remember, God does not need you to become someone else. He is developing the person He created you to become. Chosen one, as your season begins to change, you need to develop one important ability, discernment. When new opportunities begin appearing, when unexpected conversations happen, when new people enter your life, and when doors suddenly seem to open, do not assume that every opportunity automatically comes from God. Some doors are blessings, some are lessons, and some are distractions designed to pull you away from the assignment God has placed on your life. This is why you cannot allow excitement to become louder than wisdom. You may pray for an open door, and then when something finally appears, you may feel tempted to run toward it simply because you have been waiting for change. But chosen one, patience is still necessary even when the opportunity looks attractive. You need to ask God for clarity before you make decisions that could shape your future. The Bible says in James 1 verse 5 that if anyone lacks wisdom, they should ask God, who gives generously. That means you do not have to navigate your next season through emotion alone. You can ask God for wisdom. You can pray before you move. You can seek counsel before you commit. You can examine the fruit before you trust the appearance. Remember, not everything that shines is valuable. Some opportunities look impressive but carry hidden consequences. Some relationships appear exciting but slowly drain your peace. Some offers promise quick success but require you to compromise your values. Some doors appear to lead toward abundance but actually lead away from your purpose. That is why discernment matters. 1 John 4 verse 1 tells believers to test what they encounter rather than believing everything immediately. This principle is extremely important when you begin experiencing acceleration. You need to know the difference between an opportunity that requires courage and an opportunity that requires compromise. A door from God does not require you to become someone God never called you to be. It may stretch you. It may challenge you. It may require courage. It may require preparation. But it should not require you to abandon truth, integrity, or your relationship with God. Think about Daniel. He lived in an environment filled with power, influence, wealth, and opportunity, yet he refused to compromise his convictions. Daniel understood something that many people forget: success means very little if you lose your identity while pursuing it. That lesson is important for you. If God begins increasing your opportunities, do not abandon your values. If your influence increases, do not abandon humility. If your finances improve, do not abandon generosity. If powerful people begin recognizing you, do not forget the God who carried you when nobody knew your name. Chosen one, you may also need to understand that some closed doors are divine protection. You may have prayed for certain opportunities to remain open, but God allowed them to disappear. At the time, you may have thought you were being rejected. Later, you may realize that God was redirecting you. Isaiah 55 verses 8 to 9 reminds us that God's thoughts and ways are higher than ours. There will be moments when God says no without immediately explaining why. You have to trust Him even when you don't understand Him. Joseph probably did not understand why his brothers sold him. David probably did not understand every reason behind his years of wilderness. Paul experienced closed doors in his missionary journey before God redirected him toward another place. Sometimes the closed door is part of the direction. So don't spend your entire life trying to reopen something God intentionally closed. There is a difference between persistence and resistance. Persistence says, God, if this is your will, give me strength to continue. Resistance says, God, I have already decided what I want, so I need you to approve it. Don't confuse the two. Pray for alignment instead of demanding confirmation. And when the right door appears, do not let fear keep you outside. Faith requires movement. Peter had to step out of the boat. Israel had to step toward the Jordan. Noah had to build before the rain appeared. Abraham had to leave before he knew the complete destination. Sometimes God gives you enough light for the next step, not enough light to see the entire road. That means your responsibility is not to understand everything. Your responsibility is to obey what God has already revealed. Maybe the next opportunity will begin with something small. A conversation. A new skill. A business idea. A creative project. A connection. A simple invitation. A responsibility that initially seems insignificant. Do not underestimate small beginnings. Many great things begin quietly. But before you say yes, pray. Before you invest, seek wisdom. Before you trust someone, observe their character. Before you sign something, understand it. Before you change direction, ask God for confirmation. Faith and wisdom were never enemies. They are meant to work together. You can believe God while still doing your research. You can trust God while still preparing. You can expect a breakthrough while still exercising discipline. You can believe in divine opportunity without becoming careless. Chosen one, becoming shift requires more than excitement. It requires maturity. You are not simply asking God to open doors anymore. You are asking Him to teach you which doors are worth entering. You are asking Him to protect you from opportunities that look good but are not good for you. You are asking Him to connect you with people who strengthen your purpose rather than weaken it. You are asking Him to give you wisdom powerful enough to recognize the difference between temptation and opportunity. And when God finally opens the right door, walk through it with courage. Do not let your past disappointments convince you that every future opportunity will fail. Do not let one betrayal make you distrust everyone. Do not let one closed door make you afraid of every new beginning. Your past can teach you without controlling you. Your scars can give you wisdom without becoming your identity. Your previous failures can become instruction rather than imprisonment. Chosen one, your next season may require you to move differently. You will need patience when things move slowly. You will need discernment when things move quickly. You will need courage when the opportunity appears. And you will need humility after the opportunity becomes successful. That is how you protect the blessing. Because the goal is not simply to enter a new door. The goal is to remain faithful after you enter. So watch carefully. Pray deeply. Listen patiently. Test wisely. Move courageously. And never forget who is guiding you. The world may call it luck when everything begins falling into place. People may call it coincidence when the right connection appears at the right moment. They may call it timing when an unexpected opportunity changes your direction. But you will know that your responsibility was not to force the outcome. Your responsibility was to remain faithful enough to recognize the opportunity when it arrived. And when the door opens, walk through it with wisdom, humility, and faith. Because divine opportunity is not merely about getting somewhere new. It is about becoming the person God can trust once you arrive. Chosen one, if God is truly preparing you for increase, then you must understand that greater blessing also brings greater responsibility. The purpose of abundance is not simply to fill your hands until you have nothing left to desire. God can place resources in your hands so that those resources can become instruments of purpose, generosity, healing, opportunity, and impact. The real question is not simply how much you will receive. The deeper question is what you will do with what you receive. This is where the meaning of the billionaire shift becomes much deeper than money. It is not about becoming obsessed with luxury. It is not about proving your enemies wrong. It is not about making people jealous. It is not about building an identity around possessions. It is about becoming a trustworthy steward of whatever God places under your responsibility. Luke 16 verse 10 teaches that whoever is faithful with very little can also be trusted with much. That means your preparation for greater abundance is happening right now. God is watching how you handle what is already in your hands. How do you treat people who cannot give you anything in return? How do you manage the resources you already have? Are you responsible when nobody is watching? Can you remain generous when you don't have everything you want? Can you stay humble when people begin recognizing you? These questions matter because abundance does not automatically create character. Sometimes abundance reveals character. If someone is selfish with little, more may simply give them greater opportunities to become selfish. If someone is proud with little influence, greater influence can magnify that pride. But if someone has learned gratitude, discipline, compassion, and generosity, greater resources can give those qualities a wider reach. That is why God may be preparing your heart before He expands your circumstances. Chosen one, perhaps your future increase will not simply be for you. Maybe your success will create employment for someone else. Maybe your business will support families. Maybe your resources will help someone escape a difficult season. Maybe your platform will encourage thousands of people who are struggling silently. Maybe your testimony will restore hope to someone who has stopped believing. Maybe your generosity will become an answer to another person's prayer. This is kingdom stewardship. 2 Corinthians 9 verse 8 teaches that God is able to make grace abound so that we can have what we need and abound in every good work. Notice the purpose behind the abundance. Good work. The blessing is connected to responsibility. Chosen one, if God increases your influence, use it wisely. If He increases your resources, remain generous. If He increases your authority, remain humble. If He increases your opportunities, remain prayerful. If He increases your visibility, remember the hidden season that prepared you. Never allow the blessing to become more important than the one who gave it. Deuteronomy 8 verse 18 reminds us that God gives the ability to create wealth. This means that even your ability to build, think, create, work, solve problems, and recognize opportunities is something you should ultimately thank God for. So don't worship the gift. Worship the giver. Don't become so focused on the harvest that you forget the farmer. Don't become so fascinated by success that you lose your hunger for God's presence. Your greatest protection in a season of increase will be humility. Because when your life begins changing quickly, people may praise you. Some may suddenly want access to you. Some may celebrate you because they see what you have. Others may criticize you because they do not understand what God is doing. But you cannot allow either praise or criticism to control your identity. Your identity must remain rooted in God. Remember Joseph. When he finally entered a position of enormous authority, he did not use his power to destroy the people who had once harmed him. He used his position to preserve lives. That is what mature influence looks like. Joseph had resources, but he also had responsibility. He had authority, but he also had wisdom. He had power, but he remained connected to God's purpose. That is the kind of increase worth praying for. Chosen one, perhaps God is preparing you to become a source rather than merely a receiver. A person who can say, God blessed me, so now I can bless someone else. A person who can say, I survived that season, so now I can help someone else survive theirs. A person who can say, I received wisdom, so now I can teach. A person who can say, I have been restored, so now I can encourage. This is how generational impact begins. It begins when your blessing stops with you and starts flowing through you. Your children may benefit from your wisdom. Your family may benefit from your discipline. Your community may benefit from your generosity. People you have never met may benefit from something you build today. That is why your future matters. You are not simply building a lifestyle. You may be building a legacy. But remember, legacy is not measured only by money. Legacy is measured by lives changed. It is measured by character passed down. It is measured by wisdom shared. It is measured by compassion demonstrated. It is measured by faith lived out when nobody was watching. So if God gives you more, don't become harder. Become more compassionate. If He gives you more money, don't become more selfish. Become more generous. If He gives you more influence, don't become louder. Become wiser. If He gives you more power, don't become controlling. Become more responsible. If He gives you more success, don't forget where you came from. Stay grounded. Stay grateful. Stay prayerful. Chosen one, the true billionaire shift is not simply about what enters your bank account. It is about what happens inside your heart when God begins expanding your capacity. It is about moving from survival to stewardship. From fear to faith. From scarcity to responsibility. From receiving to giving. From personal success to kingdom impact. And when that transformation happens, your life becomes more than a testimony of financial increase. It becomes a testimony of God's ability to take someone through a difficult season, develop their character, enlarge their capacity, and eventually use their life as a blessing to others. So prepare your heart. Prepare your mind. Prepare your character. Prepare your hands. Because if God increases what flows into your life, make sure you are also prepared for what needs to flow through your life. That is true abundance. That is true stewardship. And that is the kind of wealth that can outlive you. Chosen one, as you step forward into this new chapter, remember that the greatest evidence of God's blessing will not simply be what you gain, but what you become. Let your increase make you wiser, your opportunities make you more responsible, and your success make you more grateful. If God opens the door, walk through it with humility. If He places resources in your hands, use them with wisdom. If He increases your influence, use your voice to bring hope rather than pride. And if He blesses you beyond what you expected, never forget the one who carried you through the seasons when you had almost nothing. Your waiting season was not wasted. Your tears were not forgotten. Your prayers were not meaningless. God can use every hidden chapter to prepare you for a greater assignment. So don't chase wealth. Chase purpose. Don't worship abundance. Worship God. And when your life begins to overflow, let that overflow reach someone else. May your success become service, your resources become provision, your testimony become encouragement, and your life become evidence of God's faithfulness. Walk forward in faith, chosen one. Stay humble. Stay obedient. Stay discerning. And whatever God places in your hands, use it for His glory. Your greatest blessing may be the blessing you become to others.